Mark. Okay, well, Mark, thank you. Thank you to Ian. Thank you to all for being here today to hear about what we're doing. After what Ian just did, he didn't leave me much. Actually, he covered the whole brief. So what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of the detail behind how we are going to do some of those things. So I just want to start off, actually, before I address this slide, in fact, I just want to start off with a couple more minutes on where we've come from. We've put a lot of effort over the last few years into measuring, managing, and reducing our own carbon footprint. We've put a lot of effort into energy reduction targets and carbon reduction targets, which we've had as far back as 1992. We've put a lot of work into some fairly dry topics like standards development, like product footprinting, like Scope 3 emissions, understanding different ways of measuring it. And that background has helped us with where we are today. We focused on managing our energy down. Is Richard Tarverton from our Energy and Carbon Unit here today? Richard, hi. Richard runs a team within BTTSO, our operational unit, that's now rolled out a building energy management system to 2,300 of our sites that's been a big contributor to reducing our energy and reducing our carbon. And that's focused on our own operations. So that's where we've come from. As Ian referred to, we're now looking at a different sort of challenge here. We're looking at this challenge that we're using up resources at 1.5 times the planet's ability to replenish them, rapidly moving by 2020 towards 2 times the planet's ability to replenish the resources we're using. And if we look at a carbon basis, we see a very similar thing. Despite a lot of activities across a lot of companies, the trajectory is still going in the wrong direction. So within that background, what we've tried to do is look for a way to change that trajectory. What can we do to take us from what, in retrospect, I'll characterize this idea of reducing our own footprint? What can we do to take us from that concept of less bad to a concept of net good? So our most material impact is the area of energy, carbon, and climate change. It's our most material impact for a number of reasons. Climate change impacts our business. If you look at our 2012 and our 2013 annual report and accounts, it's not the Better Future report that people like me produce. The annual report and accounts, you'll see that in 2012 snow and in 2013 rain had a significant impact on our network, on our fault rates, and on our customer service. And while I can't attribute any individual weather condition to climate change, the increased variability that we're seeing and that we anticipate to continue seeing will have an impact on our company. We have a hefty cost from energy usage. Energy is the lifeblood of our network, so we have a dependency on it, and there's an opportunity in there for us. So in going from this vision to help society live within the constraints of our planet's resources through our products and people, which is constrained in that it's about the constraints of the planet's resources. It's very broad in that it's about all resources. We needed to come up with a goal that was more specific, and the area of energy, climate change, and carbon was the right place for that goal because it is our most material issue. So the goal is that by 2020, we will have helped our customers save at least 3 times the end-to-end emissions of running our business. And the green part on this chart represents the amount by which we help our customers reduce their emissions. The other part of the chart, that white circle with the 1 in it, or the lower part here, represents our end-to-end emissions. From less bad, just reducing our emissions, to net good, this idea of 3 to 1. So there are 2 key differences between how we used to look at our emissions and how we now look at our emissions. The first is that we've significantly increased what we describe as our end-to-end emissions, the emissions for which we take responsibility in this methodology. So what you see on this chart reflected in pink, the 8%, is our own operational emissions. And bear in mind that reflects that we've reduced it by 80% from what it was back in 97, 98. Okay, and that now represents that 8% of our emissions. The graph you see under there actually represents our energy usage. And I know you may not be able to see the numbers, but up through 2009, that was increasing at 2 to 3% year on year, our energy usage. And that's against the backdrop that Ian referred to, that 8 times as much traffic went through the Olympics this time around as the previous time. So we've been seeing massive network growth, massive traffic growth. Behind that, we were seeing 2 to 3% year on year energy growth. With the work we're doing through the energy and carbon unit, managing our energy usage, rolling out smart meters within our own estate, we've changed the direction of that from 2 to 3% growth year on year, continuing network growth and traffic growth to 2 to 3% decline. On top of that, we're buying green energy, which is how we get to the 80%. So that now reflects our own operational footprint. What we've added to that to reflect the end-to-end footprint is the footprint of our supply chain, which is what you see on the left-hand side of this chart, or our upstream footprint. That represents now our entire upstream footprint, by which I mean not just our suppliers, but our suppliers' suppliers and their suppliers and their suppliers, right through to the source of the materials. And we use a process called EEIO, Environmentally Extended Input-Output Analysis, and Mike Berners-Lee, who will be up on the platform later, is the consultancy, Small World consultant, that helps us with that analysis. So our upstream, our suppliers, now represent 64% of the end-to-end footprint that contributes towards the methodology. And then the third area we've added is our downstream footprint. So now I've sold you as a customer, and I think there are some customers in the room today. I've sold you a product, you've taken it back to your office. It might be a telephone, it might be a router, you've plugged it in, it consumes your electricity, in fact. But we're counting the carbon burden of that towards our end-to-end footprint, because that reflects the entire carbon burden of providing the service I'm going to take credit for in the next part. So that now reflects our end-to-end footprint. So whereas we would have been reporting a footprint of a few 100,000 tonnes, we're now reporting against this end-to-end footprint in this year a footprint of 5 million tonnes of carbon emissions. So that's the first difference between our old methodology and our new methodology. The second difference is that we look at the abatement opportunity our products and services have. That is how we help our customers reduce their carbon emissions. So what we've done here is we've identified the list of products in our portfolio that help customers reduce energy consumption and or carbon emissions. For that list of products, and there are 9 products in that list at the moment, for that list of products, for each one we've identified a methodology that provides a metric for how much a unit of that product, how much carbon emissions a unit of that product avoids. And that comes from that will come either from a published case study or from a government report from which we've deduced a number. We've then worked very closely with the climate group, and particularly on this with the Carbon Trust, to actually validate that process, and I'll come back and talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So we now have a unit measure, a metric for the product. We multiply that by the amount of that product that we've sold. We add that up for the 9 products, and that gives us our abatement number. So we have our carbon cost on one side, we have our abatement on the other side, and that's what gets us towards our 3 to 1. In many respects, this is like a carbon P&L, where helping our customers represents the equivalent of revenue from a financial perspective, and the burden represents the equivalent of cost. It's not quite as sound yet as a financial P&L, but you can use that sort of analogy. And in fact, it does have a financial benefit, because reducing that carbon generally comes with reducing energy, which comes with cost saving. Improving how we can help our customers is about growing our portfolio, which also comes with revenue. So there is a financial linkage as well. And what we hope to do with this is, in the same way as a financial P&L can bring everybody in the company together around a financial profit and loss, this is a tool for us to bring everybody in the company together, both the operational side and the customer-facing side, together around a carbon goal. So where are we now? We're at 1 to 1 now. That is, our carbon emissions, our end-to-end carbon emissions are 5 million tonnes. Our methodology shows us that we are currently able to show we've helped our customers on a year-by-year basis avoid 5, it's marginally higher than 5.2 million tons of carbon emissions. And all of this is data that's in our Better Future report, and in fact in our annual reports and accounts as well. So we have a goal to get to 3 to 1. And as Ian referred to, we're going to do that, in fact, we're going to do that in 3 ways. We're going to do that by selling more of the things that we already sell that have a carbon abatement opportunity. We have certain products that have a carbon abatement opportunity, but we didn't have a good enough case study to actually include it in this, and we'll be working to better understand the carbon abatement. And thirdly, by adding new products and services and propositions into our portfolio in the areas of smart city, smart transport, logistics, connected home. And that's how we're going to grow from where we are at 1 to 1 to 3 to 1, and I didn't put the slide up. There we go. How we're going to grow from where we are at 1 to 1 to 3 to 1. This is the slide the piece I want to finish off with. It's been very important to us as we've gone through this to consult widely. So we started off working with both the Climate Group and the Carbon Trust. The Carbon Trust have helped us by actually working on the methodology with us, that we took our original methodology, which we'd spent some time on internally. We'd done a little bit of informal stakeholder engagement, but we took that to the Carbon Trust, who have worked with us to review it, help us refine it and endorse it. So what we're coming out with is something that's not just created by us, but is worked on by an organisation that independently of us is an expert in this area. And the Climate Group have helped us with stakeholder engagement. That is formal one-on-one engagements with practitioners from the business world, from government, from NGOs, which has really helped us understand better how we can refine the methodology, how we explain it and articulate it better. One of the most important things we learned is that we can't do this alone. We could try and do it alone, but even if we achieved it, it would be a real Pyrrhic victory. Getting to 3 to 1 by ourselves, if nobody else gets anywhere, means we won't have made much impact on climate change. We are a big energy buyer, but we're not a big enough energy buyer that we're going to actually by ourselves impact climate change. So even if we could get there on our own, it really doesn't serve the underlying purpose of doing this. But we don't really think we can get there alone. There are 3 critical things we need to happen in order to get there. One is we need our customers helping draw us in that direction. If you're a customer and you're here today, I need you saying to your account manager or whoever looks after you from BT, here's my carbon target. Here's the stretch I have. Here are our resource limitations. For some companies, it may not be carbon. It may be a different resource limitation. Here are the limitations we are looking towards in the future. How can your products and services help me? Because that brings us forward as a company as well. And if we can help you reduce your emissions, we can take that and count it towards our 3 as well. So we've sort of linked ourselves with helping our customers reduce their carbon emissions and improving their sustainability impact. We need our suppliers to be on board with us, partly because 63% of our footprint is now our supply chain footprint, but also because our suppliers, we work closely with our suppliers to build our products and services. So whether it's the consumption of a telephone or a router that somebody has has designed for us, or whether it's bringing partners together, suppliers in a partnership to bring a proposition out to the marketplace, we want our suppliers coming to us saying, we've got ways to help you reduce your footprint, we've got ways to help you with your customers, and we're reducing our own. So we need our suppliers with us as well. And we need our partners in the ICT sector with us, because by multiple companies doing this, it will really build the momentum. I hope one day somebody will say they've beaten us. It'll be a bit painful when somebody says we're a little ahead of you, BT, but it'll be the sort of motivation we need to say, right, we need to look at what we can do more. So all of those 3 levels. In order to do that, we have open sourced the methodology. So the methodology we've built and we've put a lot of work into, and a lot of our partners have helped us with it, have put a lot of work into, is available, publicly available, so other companies can replicate it if they're in a similar business to us for themselves, or learn from it if they're in a different business. The specific examples may not be applicable, but the methodology should be. So we've open sourced the methodology. It's all available on the bt.com website at the Better Future Net Good pages. So you can actually see exactly how we've done it and how we've built it. So we've come up with one way of doing this. We do know that there are other ways to do it. By putting the stake in the ground, and we've put this stake in the ground perhaps a little sooner than we might have done in the past. We may, it would be tempting to sit on this data another couple of years till there were more industry standards and it was a bit more stable. But by putting the stake in the ground, we hope others are going to do the same. We hope they're going to help us improve it, build on it, try it for themselves, perhaps even come up with a better methodology that we can then adopt things from. And by doing that, we hope together with other companies, we'll be able to shift from the focus being on doing less bad to the focus being on doing net good. So thank you very much. I think I hand back to Mark now, who's going to introduce everybody else.